to 2, Charming Guest 5s, and then a big jump up to Giselle's Angel at 16 to 1, Spark Alex at 16, and Dreamboat Annie at 20 to 1. Are you not into your music?
No.
When you had long drives in the car riding, would you not? What would podcast? How would you pass the time?
Netflix, really.
You're right.
But obviously I wasn't driving the car, so that helps.
Mildly worried at that point, but that's fine.
That's quite entertaining. Well, I'd pass time driving, watching telly, actually, which is highly illegal, but good. I'm glad you clarified that for us. Now, if I can, I'm going to throw something to you here. I thought Bella Ferrari was a very impressive winner last time out. I know that some might say she got an easy time of it under James Doyle, but I was impressed by that, and I thought she did take a bit of beating here. What do you think, George?
I think it was a good performance, and I felt that they've obviously tactically it was slightly different to what they've been doing. So I think it was obviously it was a good time to try and do it, and it worked very well. As we can see her going down, she looks like she's quite a keen going type, so I can see why they used to ride her with a bit of restraint, because you're trying to keep a lid on her. And I think she's Jim Crowley's doing well to just keep a nice, just hacking away to the start, but she obviously, if he let her go on at half a stride, she'd be gone, sort of thing. So just taking her down nice and steady. Hopefully, I always found when you're canning to start on a filly that's quite regular like this, it just definitely helps when things don't pass you out going down. So hopefully, for Jim's sake, nothing passes him going down to the start.
Is that just because they get a bit lit up?
Well, so other horses might be very relaxed going down, so they go down at the normal canter, and they pass you out when you're just trying to get them in a nice steady rhythm like that, and they sort of jump into the bridle and yank the reins out your hand, and it's hard to get them back, especially when she's obviously very willing in that respect.
How much emphasis do you put on the process from walking out the paddock, getting on the horse, to getting down to the start? I mean, in terms of, I know obviously your race doesn't start there, but in your mind, does maximising the chance your horse have of winning start as soon as you get on the horse?
Without doubt. So I'll give you an example. So there's a horse of Hughie Morrison's who was a high-class handicapper called Chill the Kite.
Very good horse.
He was the freest horse I've ever rode in a race, and the key with him was getting him to the start relaxed. If you got him down there, and you just literally would all be about hacking down like that and just keeping him nice and chilled. And if you could do that, he would be a much easier horse to hold in a race. If you got him to the start and he was boiled over, he'd pull so hard and he'd just run his race before.
And would you be trying to keep him away from other horses to sort of give him the best chance of settling on the way to the start? Would you want company to sort of switch him off in some way?
Well, I'd always try and keep him out of the way of everything else, because he just didn't like loads of horses around him, and you'd sort of trot him away and just do everything nice and gradually. And I think it's a really big bugbear of mine when I see lads going to the start. And I used to, when I was riding, and they go flat out down to the start. I just don't get it, because you want to conserve as much energy as possible. So Gary Moore installed it into me early days when I rode for him, and it's something that really stuck with me. I'd always just hack down to start. And you know, when you see in America, they get ponied to the start. Yeah, it's out of the jockey's hand. It's great, but here it's a big thing with jockeys, and you see the top riders. It's all part of the setup of getting the results you need. And
it's something that punters, I know punters on the racetrack, etc., like, you want to see shots of horses going to start for that reason, but it's not something that I think the value of it is probably not. We probably as punters probably don't put as much of a value on it as we actually should, because it's used. I mean, if an 800-metre runner was sort of just below a sprint to the start of an 800-metre race, compared to just sort of trotting there as such, and you said who would you rather back in that? The simple answer is the one that's done it easier to the start, because they've conserved more energy. It's really interesting, and actually speaking to a few jockeys like yourself just there, I know that some of them wouldn't probably put as much emphasis on it as you've just sort of declared there, and I've always found it fascinating why they wouldn't, because Rachel, it seems such an obvious thing to try and gain an advantage in some ways.
Well, you look at on Saturday when Too Darn Hot absolutely tanked Frankie down to the start, and he just came back and just went, I just couldn't hold it, and then I was just really worried we had blown the race before we even got there. And well, I mean, he didn't, but he's a freakishly good horse. So,
Yeah.
you know, the fact that even at that high level, you know, a good jockey, a strong jockey, is worrying about that. And
Yeah.
I mean, that's the worst thing. You do that. When do you come back? I'm sorry, I couldn't hold him on the way to the start.
Yeah. Well, the reason why we're talking about the start is because Bella Ferrari's been given a very sort of cute time of it down to the start by Jim Crowley, and now she has arrived, and I think that it's job done in terms of Jim's job there, first part of the race, to keep her nice and relaxed. I think Connections should and would be very pleased with what's just happened.
Yeah, and I don't know if you noticed, sort of as he got to the bottom of the hill there, he just jogged away to the start, and I'd always feel that if you've got something that's like hot-headed like that, I'd try and go down late and not hold the race up. But if it was going to be the case where you're going down last and you're going to be late, getting late, I'd just rather go down first and get them really chilled out, walk around down at the start.
Okay, we've talked about Bella Ferrari. What about Peggy Sue, Rachel, for Adam West and Toby Lee going for the hat-trick, this daughter of Captain Gerard?
Yeah, she's now second favourite. She did open favourite, not a whole lot in it. I think she's the most likely winner because I thought she was really impressive at Sandown last Friday when she won by about 2 lengths easy over the 5 furlongs. That was against older horses, but it was really impressive. She is running with the penalty today, but if you like numbers and weights, she's actually due to go up 7 pounds, so arguably she's a pound well in with her 6 pound penalty. And she's now racing against only fillies, and it's only her second start against fillies, and she's looking for the 4th win this year. So I just think she just bounce out in front, lay off the pace of the likes of Bella Ferrari if she goes forward, Giselle's Angel if she goes forward, Dreamboat Annie will be going forward. In theory, that Toby Ely, who's 2 for 2 on her, can just sit in the catbird seat and hit the turbos.
If you fancy Kel Lane, do you have to put a line through her run last time out? Because the time before she was a winning handicap debutant.
I think so. I think for me that was one of those situations where you just have to put a line through it and move on. And her form up to that point of being progressive, like she'd started off, and I felt everything was sort of catered for going into handicap company, and I kind of felt that it was sort of a given that she was going to carry on that improve, and it was definitely for me was too bad to be true last time, and I don't know whether there was a reason for that. We don't know, but I'd be prepared to give her another chance for sure.
Charming Guest comes into the race on the back of winning form, Rachel.
Yeah, she's another filly in here with carrying the penalty because she won easily at Epsom last week. That was on ground with a little bit of give on it, but she's won at Bath, so she can handle pretty much any sort of ground. And she's a filly who's kind of runs a good race and then falters for a little bit and then bounces back to form. But if she's in anything like the form she was last week, she should be another one that goes close here, and Ben Curtis picks up the ride for Mick Shannon.
Okay, should we do match bet time, George?
What for?
A cup of tea.
I don't want you to make it because you're ill.
Why not? I can still make it.
Do me like coughing or something.
You'll breathe near it.
Breathe around me. I think Bella Ferrari. You like Peggy Sue, Rach? George, you be Judge Baker in this. Who would you side with?
I'm definitely siding with Peggy Sue. It was a fantastic performance at Sandown, and obviously it was only 4 days ago, so that's always a concern. But if she runs to that sort of level, it's going to be very difficult to beat again.
There's a programme, Man vs Food. We'll have this programme called Pundits versus Presenter. Is Stuart Machin.
They're off, racing over 6 furlongs. They came out a pretty clean line as well. Dreamboat Annie on the right, showing bright early speed, with Bella Ferrari in the centre in a red jacket. And then Charming Guest, the blue cap, tracking the leaders. Second from the left, Spark Alex, and further left, Kel Lane with a spotted cap. Peggy Sue in a red and black jacket, racing in touch. And the nose bandage, Giselle's Angel, is at the back of a well-grouped field as they head down the centre of the course. So Bella Ferrari out in the middle, Dreamboat Annie towards the near side, disputed approaching the halfway point. Charming Guest is between them, and Kel Lane on the far side virtually making a line of 4. Near side, Peggy Sue only a length off the gallop, then Giselle's Angel, and Spark Alex at the back of the field having to be coaxed along. Climbing inside the last quarter mile, Bella Ferrari, Dreamboat Annie, Charming Guest and Kale Lane. Spark Alex switches sharply to the far side, heading now for the last 300 yards. Dreamboat Annie, Blue Jacket, the white-faced Kale Lane. These two trading blows. Bella Ferrari weakening away, Peggy Sue struggling to get there. Dreamboat Annie having a real set two here with Kale Lane. These two dominate the finish. Kale Lane on the far side, maybe just, could be a double for Dave Allen. Kale Lane, Dreamboat Annie in a tight finish. Close third, Peggy Sue, Giselle's Angel and Spark Alex.
It's a close finish, this, to the River Soar Fillies handicap. Let's just have a look at it. Dreamboat Annie near side 8 is the number you need for her. Kale Lane number 6, red colours far side. It looks as though, famous last words, but it looks as though George Kale Lane has won it just.
But that's what it
Here
looks
is
like.
the outcome of the photo finish for first place. First number 6, Kale Lane.
And looks can often be deceiving, but not in this case. Kale Lane it is who's won, returns at 4-1 and got back on track after that. A handicap debut in 2 starts ago, was 7th last time out, but here under jockey David Allen has won. Bella Ferrari was disappointing, as was in some respects Peggy Sue, but it was a good finish, Rachel.
Yeah, and the two of them were pretty much up there the entire time. And Kale Lane, 2 starts ago, when she won, she beat a certain Alba de Soleil. So we're now having form franking from across all of our race courses. She was quite game, just keeping her head stuck out there to keep Dreamboat Annie, who I actually thought ran an absolutely cracking race. She was all on her own on the near side rail, and the cheek pieces came off after a couple of starts and sort of running a solo. She did well. She's entered tomorrow at Bath, and I'm getting the feeling if she pulls out fine here, I wouldn't be surprised to see her running over 5.5 furlongs tomorrow.
Strike while the iron's hot.
Why not?
Exactly. What did you make of Bella Ferrari? Jim had such a job on his hand to keep her relaxed on the way to the start. He then had a bit of a job on his hands to keep her relaxed in the early part of the race, it seemed.
I think he disguised it quite well, but it just looked to me, just knowing how Jim Crowley's riding style is, that she was definitely leaning on him the whole way, and that's always a concern with her because she's very willing, and you can see she's just doing too much too soon, and I felt you can see that because she's probably one of the first beaten. Do you know what I mean? So the key with her is to get her to do things in a nice relaxed rhythm, and I feel the problem is when you're trying to do that in sprints, if you're in front, you're more than likely something's going to sit on your girth and take you along.
She also has quite a high knee action, and actually all of her best runs have been with a little bit of give in it. I just wonder if she was feeling the surface today and just not really wanting to know a whole lot about it.
Yeah, it was a close finish to the River Soar Fillies handicap over 6 furlongs, and in the end, Kale Lane for James Bethel and David Allen has won from Dreamboat Annie. We are going to review the previous race from Kempton in a few moments' time and head back there for their next race, because the 7:15, which is next up, is a good little race, and then the 7:45, which we're looking forward to very much, the 32 red handicap over 2 miles. But let's just tidy up the SPs from the previous race at Leicester. We don't have them in at the moment. I can tell you the winner returned at 4-1, I know that. We'll tidy up the rest of the SPs when they come in and confirm that for you. But 4-1 about the winner, well done if you found her.